Hi, my name is Fabio, and I will try to rehearse my part in the project that I'm going to present tonight at college. And I'm talking about the book 1984 by George Orwell. And my part is to make it short, the chapter 8 called Doublethink. So the chapter 8 starts with this big hate week when the government used this week to make some improvement in the city, in the country actually. And because the power they had, they used to kill people, to send them to prison. Some of them were hanged. So it was a very, very busy week, the hate week. And just before 2,000 people were about to be hanged, the government said that Oceania was not at war with Eurasia. From that moment on, they were at war with East Asia. So the government usually changes information according to what they wanted. So sometimes they used to say that the three countries, Oceania, East Asia, and Eurasia, they were at war, and sometimes they just said no, no, they're not at war anymore. They are at war with another country. So anyway, at that day, Winston was had nothing to do. So it was like his day off. And after working 90 hours non-stop, he was like doing nothing that day. And then he decided with Julia to meet at Mr. Carrington's shop. And then he went up there, he took the book, the Goldstein's book, which was the diary that Goldstein used to keep it. And then he took it with him to the shop, and then he went up there and he opened the window, he made some coffee and waited for Julia. So after some time, he heard some voices, and then Julia was coming, and then they hug each other. And then after some moment, Winston decided to read the book to Julia. He was so excited that finally he could read the book because in there was many things written, and there was some revelation about the past that he didn't know. So at the beginning of the book, it was saying that long, long time ago, the world was divided in three different groups. There was this high group, the middle group, and the low group. It was like different social groups, and they had different purpose, different aims to keep where they were. So the high group, so they were at the top, and they had the power. So the intention was to stay where they were. And there was this middle group, and the middle group, his purpose was to change place with the high group. So they were always fighting. People from the middle group wanted to go to the high group, and then the high group didn't want to accept people coming from the middle group. So they were always fighting. And there was this low group, and the low group, they had no purpose. They had no intention, no objective. So sometimes they had no aim, and sometimes the only thing they wanted was to live in a world where people were equal. And in the year 1930s, the high group saw the danger of middle group to come to the high group. So they did the possible to stop it. They started taking control of everything. They started killing people, sending people to war. And by 50 to the 60s, the high group, after a long time, like 30 years, fighting against the other groups, they finally stopped the danger by taking over properties, factories, land, houses, except private houses. So they invaded the other peoples. They took over the industry, factories, the television. So they controlled everything. And then the danger of the middle group go up to the high group stopped. By the year 1970, the Big Brother was the only leader. During this period, he killed many leaders of other countries. So he had the power to invade other countries, to kill the leader, to send people to slavery. And then, by this time, Big Brother created the three countries. So he divided the whole world into three specific countries. So there was Oceania, where Big Brother was. There was Eurasia, and there was East Asia. The party controlled everything, all the countries. So the party controlled the information, food, clothes, and etc., including the war. So sometimes the party said, okay, so now we are at war with Eurasia. And then sometimes he changed mind and said, no, we are at war with Eurasia. Just to understand how Big Brother worked, the book give us the idea how the Big Brother was divided. So we had the inner party, which was the mind of the party. Yeah, it was 2% of the population. And then there was the other members, the outer party, and they were the hand of the party. So the mind of the party, they manipulated, they created ideas, and then the outer party, the other members, they make the things happen. And there was the prolet, which was the 85% of the population. So every proles, they were under the eyes of the thought police, which was a department of the party. So in order to control the whole population, the party created a new language. So people was not allowed to speak in their language. Now the children, they were raised in another language, which was called Newspeak. We have some words just to understand how Newspeak worked. We had people were raised, especially the children, they were raised in the idea of good thinkers. They had to be good thinkers. So good thinkers means that they know what they must do. Because since they were kids, they learned what they were allowed and were not allowed to do. So they were good thinkers. There was another word in the newspeak called crime stop. And crime stop means stop before you think a wrong thought. So they were not allowed even to think different from what Big Brother had in mind. So they were like in prison. They didn't have intellect to think against the power. And there was another word called black-white, which means everything has two meanings. So when the government say that something was black, or if people thought that something was white, so it was a different meaning. And there was a double think, and the double think was the whole idea. So people has two different ideas of the same thing. Nothing was what they sing. So everything was two different meanings, and they think at the same time. But this time, Julia was sleeping when Wilson was reading, so Julia fell asleep. And then he said, "Julia, wake up! We are the dead." And then so she woke up and then said, "Okay, we are the dead." And suddenly, out of nothing, a voice coming from behind them repeated what he said. So the voice said, "You are the dead." And then they got scared and they started looking where that voice came from. And then they kept talking and they said, "Julia, it's better for us to run up, to run away." And then the voice said, "Yes, you have to run away. You can't run away." And anyway, they started looking where that voice came from, and they discovered that the voice came from behind a big picture. And behind the big picture there was this telescreen. And the telescreen, the man started shouting at them, say, okay, you stop where you are, put your hands up. And suddenly a group of soldiers crashed the window and entered the room, and they started like beating Julia, and they hit Julia in the stomach and took her out of the room. So Winston was so shocked and so scared, and he was so worried about the owner of the shop because Mr. Carrington was not there, and he started thinking about Mr. Carrington. Was he safe? Where was he? But then suddenly, like minutes later, a man entered the room, and it was Mr. Carrington, and he was wearing the same jacket as the man in the telescreen. And then when he started talking to Winston, Winston recognized that that voice was the same voice of the telescreen, and then he discovered that Mr. Carrington was a member of the thought police. And then this is the end of chapter 8. Thank you.